In this video, we'll study about the changes in the second week of the germinal period. The blastocyst, so this is the blastocyst, is gradually embedded in the decidua of the uterus by the histolytic action of the trophoblast. At first, the embryonic pole of the blastocyst grows deep in the endometrial stroma and the abembryonic pole projects freely in the uterine lumen. As the implantation continues, the blastocyst is completely embedded in the endometrial stroma by the 12th day of the development. So in this picture you can see the blastocyst is completely embedded within the decidua of the uterus and the site of penetration is closed by the fibrin plug at first, which is later replaced by the epithelial lining of the uterus. So this lining will replace this fibrin plug later. The blastocyst lies in the stratum compactum and it bulges gradually into the uterine cavity as the development advances. The portion of the decidua at the embryonic pole of the blastocyst is called as the decidua basalis. The part covering the abembryonic pole is called as the decidua capsularis, and the decidua covering the uterine cavity is named as the decidua parietalis. The implantation of the blastocyst provides a nutrition to the growing embryo from the maternal blood, initially by diffusion and later through the development of the placenta. During the second week of development, the trophoblast, so this is the trophoblast and this is the embryoblast. The embryoblast and the trophoblast of the blastocyst differentiate individually, although one is concomitant with other. Now we'll see what are the changes in the trophoblast. On the 8th day of the development, the trophoblast differentiate into an inner layer that is known as the cytotrophoblast and the outer layer that is called as the syncytial trophoblast. So on the 8th day of the development, the trophoblast differentiate into an inner layer that is the cytotrophoblast and the outer layer that is the syncytial trophoblast. The differentiation is more pronounced at the embryonic pole of the blastocyst. The cells of the cytotrophoblast, they retain the individual cell membrane and they form mononucleated pale staining zones of cells. The syncytial trophoblast proliferates so rapidly at the expense of the endometrial stroma that the cells lose their limiting membrane and they form a deep staining multinucleated protoplasmic mass. A number of lacunar spaces, so these spaces are called as lacunar spaces, appears in the syncytial trophoblast due to the rapid proliferation. Each lacuna communicates with the adjacent one around the cords of the syncytial cells which persist as the trabeculae. So this is one lacuna, this is the other lacuna, and here this is the trabeculae. Meanwhile, the endometrial stroma becomes edematous and the maternal capillaries are congested and dilated. In this image, you can see these are the lacunar spaces. The lacunae enlarge around the entire blastocyst but more so at the embryonic pole and they erode the spiral branches of the endometrial artery and the veins. Erosion of the veins takes place earlier than the artery. As a result, the lacunae are now filled with the maternal blood, establishing uteroplacental circulation. In this image, you can see the green one is the syncytial trophoblast. So within the syncytial trophoblast, you can see these are the lacunae. This is now filled with the maternal blood, establishing uteroplacental circulation. And this layer of cell is the cytotrophoblast. And in between the lacunae, you have the trabeculae. So this is the trabeculae. And this is the decidua basalis, and this is the decidua capsularis. In this image, you can see the next change. So this green one is the syncytial trophoblast, and these are the lacunae, and these are the trabeculae. Now the syncytial trabeculae radiate outwards with the central core or invaded by the cells of the cytotrophoblast. The cells of the cytotrophoblast invade the central core of the trabeculae. And the trabeculae is now called as the primary stem villi. So before it is called as trabeculae, when it is invaded by the cytotrophoblast in the central core, now this area is called as the primary stem villi, with the central core of the cytotrophoblast and the peripheral cells of the syncytial trophoblast. Eventually, now the lacuna are termed as intervillous space. So this is one villi and this is the other villus, and in between this you have the intervillous space. So the trabeculae is now converted into the primary stem villi, and this is now called as the lacunae is now called as the intervillous space. Later, the cells of the cytotrophoblast penetrate the syncytium from the tips of the stem villi and spread within the syncytial layer to establish contact with the similar extension from the adjacent villi. Thus, an outer layer of cytotrophoblast shell is formed around the entire blastocyst. So this is the outer shell of the cytotrophoblast. So the cytotrophoblast shell divides the syncytium of outer wall of the intervillous spaces into outer and inner layer, both of which subsequently exhibit some fibrinoid degeneration. The successive developments of the trophoblastic lacunae, trabeculae, uteroplacental circulation, primary villi and the intervillous spaces take place between the 9th and the 13th day after fertilization. The outer cytotrophoblast shell is formed in the early part of the 3rd week. Now we'll see what are the changes occurs in the embryoblast. Concomitant with the changes of the trophoblast, the cells of the embryoblast differentiate into 2 layers on the 8th day of the development. A layer of flattened or cuboidal cells, which is known as the hypoblast or primary endoderm, appears on the inner or the luminal surface of the embryoblast. The rest of the cells on the outer or the trophoblastic side of the embryoblast form a layer of tall columnar cell, which is called as the epiblast or primary ectoderm. An extracellular basement membrane is laid down between the epiblast and hypoblast. The ectodermal layer, which is initially attached to the inner aspect of the cytotrophoblast, gradually separates from the cytotrophoblast to form a fluid-filled cavity that is called as the amniotic cavity. The area of contact between the ectodermal layer and the primitive endoderm is disc-like, and this forms the bilaminar germ disc, which gives rise to the development of the embryo proper. The floor of the amniotic cavity is formed by the ectodermal germ layer, and its roof is contributed by a layer of flattened cells, the amnion, which is probably derived from the cytotrophoblast. The amnion and the ectodermal layer meet at the periphery, that is called as the amnio-ectodermal junction. As the development proceeds, the amniotic cavity enlarges by the addition of new amniogenic cells from the adjacent cytotrophoblast. On the 9th day of the development, flattened mesothelial cells appear on the inner surface of the cytotrophoblast at the abembryonic pole, and this forms the Husser membrane, which is continuous at the periphery of the germ disc with the primary endoderm. This encloses a cavity. This is known as the primary yolk sac. The roof of the primary yolk sac is formed by the cubicle cells of the endodermal layer, and the rest is lined by flattened mesothelium, that is the Husser's membrane. In the later part of the second week, a loose network of cells, which is known as the primary extraembryonic mesoderm, appears between the trophoblast externally and the amnion and the yolk sac internally. Probably the extraembryonic mesoderm is derived from the delamination of the cells of the cytotrophoblast. Gradually, the primary mesoderm increases in amount and they form a reticulum of cells, which is known as the magna reticulaire. In this image, this is the bilaminar germ disc and this is the primary extraembryonic mesoderm. Subsequently, a number of cavities appears in the extraembryonic mesoderm which confluent with one another to form a new cavity that is called as the extraembryonic coelom. So in this image you can see this is the primary extraembryonic mesoderm, and within the primary extraembryonic mesoderm the cavity is formed, a new cavity is formed. This is called as the extraembryonic coelom. Continued increase in the size of the extraembryonic coelom delaminates the primary yolk sac and the amniotic cavity from the trophoblast, except at the caudal end of the germ disc where the amnion is connected to the blastocyst by a cord of cells derived from the extraembryonic mesoderm. This cellular cord forms the connecting or the body stalk of the embryo, which is subsequently converted into umbilical cord. The extraembryonic coelom divides the primary extraembryonic mesoderm into two layers, a somatopleuric layer and a splanchnopluric layer. Both the layers are continuous at the connecting stalk. The somatopleuric layer lines the cytotrophoblast and the amnion. The splanchnopluric layer lines the yolk sac. So it covers the yolk sac. The trophoblast together with the somatopleuric layer of the extraembryonic mesoderm forms the chorion. So this forms the chorion. The trophoblast along with the somatopleuric layer of the extraembryonic mesoderm forms the chorion. Henceforward, the villi is now termed as the chorionic villi. In the succeeding stage, the primary yolk sac undergo much reduction in the size because a large portion of the sac is pinched off by the traction of the mesodermal strands which connect it to the ab-embryonic pole of the chorion. The reduced sac thus formed is lined by a new way of cells that migrate from the primary endoderm along the inner surface of the Hughes membrane, and now it is converted into secondary yolk sac or yolk sac proper. The extra embryonic mesoderm in the outer wall of the yolk sac is the major site of hematopoiesis or blood formation. The secondary yolk sac is observed on the 13th day of development. By the end of the second week, the blastocyst cavity, now called as the chorionic cavity, contains two hollow vesicles, the amniotic cavity and the yolk sac, which are suspended from the wall of the chorion by the connecting stalk. Both the vesicles are surrounded by the extra embryonic coelom, and the area sandwiched between the two vesicles, between the floor of the amniotic cavity and the roof of the yolk sac, forms the bilaminar germ disc or the embryonic area. The dorsal or the upper lamina is formed by the tall columnar ectodermal cells. The ventral or lower lamina is occupied by the flattened or cubical endodermal cells. A thin basement membrane intervenes between the two laminae. Meanwhile, near the cephalic region of the embryonic disc, the endodermal cells thicken over an oval area to form the precaudal plate. This plate consists of columnar cells and it is tightly adherent to the overlying endodermal layer. The precaudal plate shows the first sign of differentiation of the germ disc and establish a cephalocaudal axis and bilateral symmetry of the embryo.